Hello, everyone. I'm Gary Summers, and welcome to the audio edition of Mind, Body, Soul, a show about your mental, physical, and spiritual wellness. Well, as promised, we have another interesting guest today. I'd like to welcome Jennifer Wellsman of Thyme Catering and Cookie School. Welcome, Jennifer.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Gary.
Well, I know we spoke. We had to postpone this a couple of times because of a rear end collision you were in, and I know you tell me you're feeling better. So anyway, thank you very much for your commitment to this project. We all really appreciate it. So Jennifer, I guess to start off, give our listeners an idea of what they can expect to hear from you today.
For sure. So, with my business, provide people with healthy meal options for when they don't want to be cooking or they don't have time to cook. So, a lot of the time, if you are busy, you end up getting takeout food. So, we give you that option that you can come in and get a healthy takeout meal, essentially. I also have a cooking school where I offer cooking classes to kids and adults. And we also offer team building events that center around cooking. So cooking and eating is such a healthy meal, such an important part of our physical and mental well-being. And there's nothing better than feeling good when you know your body's being nourished, and we try to help with that.
And I guess the other big thing is you're local.
I am local. Yes, I'm on Torbay Road.
and that's uh, and that's a big consideration as well. And I know most people, or maybe even all people, really want to support local entrepreneurs. So let's just get into a little bit of your background as far as cooking goes. When did you realize you had an interest in cooking? Have you always been like that, or when did it kind of start?
I have cooked for as long as I can remember. So I started off baking. So that's what a lot of the kids, even when they come in, their favorite thing is to bake. So I used to bake all the Christmas cookies at Christmas time. And then when I got older, I started making our supper meals. And so a lot of the time when I was in high school or in university and I lived at home, I used to make the supper meals. Mom and dad, they were great cooks. That's where I learned all my cooking from. And they'd go off to work, and mom would always have a protein of some sort out. And so I would just make supper for her. And she'd come home, and I always remember she'd say, "Oh my gosh, I hoped you'd make supper." And I didn't realize how much that meant to her until I grew up, got married, had kids. And the last thing you want to do a lot of the time is cook. And when you come home and you know you have a meal already prepared, it's just such a wonderful feeling.
So you've kind of taken this cooking for your family to cooking to taking it to a totally different level.
I have.
You're cooking for all kinds of families. You're like Santa Claus of cooking.
Right? I enjoy cooking, but I also enjoy being able to help people, and that's how I do it through, if there's someone looking for something, particular dietary restriction or anything like that, if I can help them make their lives easier, then that's a great
And,
feeling.
and that's really what you're doing, isn't it? You're solving a problem with families who have a bunch of kids. They could be in daycare, they could be in school. Both parents are working, and today more than ever now, businesses and people seem to be wanting people to do more with less. They're probably staying late at work. They're probably taking work home with them. So, I mean, I don't know what the statistics are. You might know what they are, but I mean, I've heard some people say that they have takeout two, three, four times a week, and we
Yes.
all know that that's problematic, especially with the obesity and overweight problem, particularly in Canada and here in Newfoundland. We have to be careful because as we get older, our systems break down, and we're prone to obesity, and we're prone to diabetes and high cholesterol and heart disease and things like that. So we have to be careful. So to be able to have a professional who has your best interests at heart is, to me, is a nugget that people really need to know about. So how did you get started in your business? When did you decide, okay, I'm taking this outside the home?
Yeah, for sure. So I was on mat leave, so 14 years ago. And a friend of mine was starting her own business, and I wanted to do something else. I was in advertising and I wanted to own my own business, but I didn't know what. And she was starting her own business and she was busy. And she's like, "Oh, I wish I had a personal chef, someone to come in and cook all my meals for me." And I'm like, "I could do that. That's what I do." I used to always, like, I always used to prep my food on the weekend. And, if I'd have one meal and I'd be cooking for the next day. Like, it was always constantly, because we didn't eat out a lot. We wanted to eat healthy.
Sure.
And that seed was planted. And then 3 years later, when I was on mat leave with my second child, that's when I started. I started my business. Yeah. So,
It, it's amazing how things happen. It's I'm sure this just didn't fall in your lap. I mean, I'm sure you had a desire to do this, but then just something comes and it hits a nerve, and then you go, I can do that. So how has your business evolved? How did it start, and how has it grown? What have you added? I know you talked about a cooking school for children, which I think that's unbelievable. I'm the opposite way. I grew up and wasn't comfortable in the kitchen, and I'm still not very comfortable in the kitchen. I do what I can to clean up, but
yeah.
you don't want me cooking for you, right?
Oh, well, you know what? We ask everyone to come and cook, and I'm sure if you came, you'd enjoy it. But yeah, I started. I'm going into my 10th year of business, and when I first started, I used to go to people's homes and cook their meals. So they would get a month's worth of meals. They'd come home, and all the meals would be in their fridge. And then they would freeze whatever they weren't going to eat right away, and then they would just take them out and thaw them and reheat them on those days when they knew they were going to be too busy to cook.
Okay, just
So
let me stop you for a second. How long would it
yeah, for
take you to
sure.
cook how long would it take you to cook a month's worth of meals?
So I would usually arrive at their house between 8:30 and 9, and I guess I would be out of there. I used to try, and I like to challenge myself. So I would usually be out of there by 1:30 or so.
Wow.
And that's cleaning, I would leave the places I found it. I would clean up everything, and the only thing that they knew I was there is when they came home, they'd smell the food, that food was there, and the meals would be in the fridge, right?
Wow. So
So I
anyways,
used to do that.
sorry, I
That's
didn't mean to
okay.
interrupt, because
That's
I'm just
okay.
thinking it'd take me 2 months to cook a month's worth
Well,
of food. So,
yeah, so you get five recipes, and then you get enough servings. So a recipe usually makes 4 servings, right?
okay,
So you get
okay,
five So I would be
okay.
making five meals, five recipes, say, and then enough servings for each person in the house.
Okay, so
Um,
back to your business evolving.
for sure.
Go
Yeah.
ahead,
So
sorry.
I did that. That's okay. I did that, and so then I decided my business would evolve, and I started teaching the cooking classes and that as well off site. I used to work out of one of the churches during the summer. And then I decided to open up my own commercial kitchen. So I did that about 3 years ago. And so now I still have clients where I cook, but I cook here and then I deliver to them.
Okay, okay.
And then we also have our grab and go meals as well. So I still do all of that as well. And then we have our cooking school.
So just talk about grab and go meals. Is that like you have a freezer or a cooler that you put things in daily, and people can come by and see what you have there, and they can buy it right there on the spot? Is that kind of like a takeout kind of things?
It is. So everything is cold. It's either fresh in the fridge or it's frozen. So
Okay.
we have a whole bunch of different options that we have. We cover for a whole bunch of different restrictions as well. So if you have any dietary restrictions, if you're trying to eat low carb or gluten-free, dairy-free, vegetarian, vegan, we offer different options like that. We have family-size meals as well as single servings. And so we try to offer things that are different to what you would get in the area. We're thinking home cooked meals, something that you'd cook at home if you had the time or you'd
Sure.
like to cook at home,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, so people can just come into the shop or they can check online. We have a list of what we have to offer, and they can just come in and grab a meal and go. Yeah.
Excellent. Really, really good. So I know we generally touched on why people use your meal service, but can you just give a little more detail on that? Because some people may think, well, I don't know why I would use a meal service, but so some of the more unique ways. I know, people who are working and things like that, and maybe people who don't really know how to cook healthy and don't
Mhm.
understand that concept. Can you just expand on that a little bit more?
For sure. So, a lot of the people who come in are busy moms. So, they want to be serving their families a healthy meal, but they don't always have time to cook it. And I know from personal experience, if you don't have time, then you feel guilt about not feeding your family a healthy meal. So we give that chance to come in and grab something rather than getting takeout. At the end of the day, when you're busy, and you haven't had a chance to get anything ready for supper, it's so easy just to go through the drive-through,
Sure, absolutely. Yeah,
right? And then, but
yeah.
then after you eat that, a lot of the time you don't even feel well after eating the
What
drive-through. So,
I don't know anybody who feels better after going
right.
through a drive-through,
Yeah.
right?
So, so we give that option to come in and get a meal that you're going to feel better eating it. We have a lot of people who, for our customized meals, we do offer low sodium meals as well. A lot of people now are trying to cut
Sure,
down on their salt intake. So
absolutely.
we do have some low salt options as well. And then that's also where our customized meals come in too. So we also have clients who they're trying to get into better shape. They've got, they might have a fitness regime that they're trying to follow. But, no matter how much, time you spend at the gym, if you're not eating properly, you're still not going to get the results you're looking for. So we have low carb options. We have a lot of clients who have a specific goal that they want to reach. They want, they have a certain amount of protein they have to eat. They have a certain number of vegetables and carbs. So we do all that for them as well, so that all they have to do is they've got their meal ready, they can eat it and continue on with their day. And then we have other dietary restrictions as well that people might have. So we try to give options. A lot of takeout isn't gluten-free or dairy-free and
Sure.
things like that. So we just try to give those options to them.
The couple of things that you mentioned, and I don't know how many people um, uh, read labels, and labels can give you a false sense of security when you look at particularly salt. And the normal daily intake for a person who has normal blood pressures, it would be about 2,300 milligrams, but if you have high blood pressure, is around 1,500 milligrams. And if you look at something like a processed soup or something that's on the shelf, and it says, well, it has 650 milligrams of salt per serving.
Hmm.
Now, there could be 3 or 4 servings in that thing of soup. So right away,
Absolutely.
taking that thing and eating it all at once, you've gone beyond your daily requirement for salt, and people don't understand how labels work. The other area I thought, which would be good, it would be for single people.
Oh, for sure.
People talk about, how do you cook for yourself, and so that would be another um, area of group of people that could certainly use could certainly use your service. Um, so we talked about when people are looking for meals, you obviously don't have a cookie cutter service. You want to appeal to that broad range of audience, people who there's so much in the news now about gluten free and lactose intolerant, and people who want to have more protein, want to reduce their carbohydrates. Why is it so important for people to eat healthy? I think we've seen all the ads, and sometimes the media can hype it up, and it's hard to believe what you read or what you see on TV. So just talk to the nuts and bolts of healthy uh, eating and healthy cooking as
For
well.
sure. Yeah. I think really, whatever you eat, it's going to affect how you feel. So I know for myself, if I go through a point where I'm not eating enough protein, I have to eat protein. Every meal I eat has to have protein in it. If it doesn't, by the time the end of the day comes, I'm hungry. And what do? I just reach for whatever is
Sure.
there to eat. And so I know that after a while, I just don't feel myself again. I feel um, I'm grumpy or I'm more emotional, and it just affects everything and everyone around you. So what you eat is so important to how you feel within yourself and how everyone around you is affected as well. So I really feel that, food fuels the body, and if you eat the right foods, it makes you feel so much better.
I talked to I interviewed Tara Antle, who's a nutritionist, well known, well known
Yeah, I know
nutrition,
Tara.
well
Yeah.
nutritionist, the one piece of advice she gave people during the interview was, do your best to start every day with a protein shake.
Yeah.
It keeps you full longer, and protein, if people don't know it, are the building blocks. That's your cellular building block from, and if you don't have a good strong base, then like you said, Jennifer, you're just not going to feel well. So people are busy, they want to eat healthy. How do they start with you if you're an option, and it's so obvious that you are a very viable option? How do they go on your website? Do they call you? Do they email you? Do you have like a monthly subscription where every month people do that, or is it more sporadic and interval type of stuff?
It's pretty much whatever works for people. So I have a couple of different options. So there's the grab and go meal, so people can come in and grab whatever they'd like to have. So like I say, on our website, we have a list of what we have in the fridge and freezer at that moment. I try to keep it as up to date as I can. We also have an online option. So if you order by Friday, the week before, we then prepare the meals and cook them and deliver them on Monday. So that's a smaller number of items, but we try to give a little bit of a variety for everything. So there are some gluten-free options, some dairy-free. There's usually a vegetarian option as well. So that way, then people are getting freshly prepared meals, and they don't, we deliver them, so they don't have to pick up if they don't want to. And then we have our customized meal packages. So you can go on our website and there's a sample, but really the best thing to do is to give me a call or to email me, and we basically go through what you like to eat, what you're looking for with regards to meals, whether they be low salt or low carb, or you might just be trying to add more protein and vegetables to your diet. Whatever it is, then I send a menu that's totally based on what you like to have, and then we just go from there. We pick a day for delivery, and I deliver them freshly prepared. You just pop them in your fridge, and then what you're not going to eat within 4 days, you freeze, and you've got your healthy meals ready to go.
Do you have a radius for delivery?
Usually St. John's and surrounding areas. So we usually go out to Mount Pearl for delivery on a Monday night. Usually Mount Pearl. We'll go out to Paradise.
Okay.
Not normally CVS at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just give some people, I know a lot of people want to eat healthy. They don't feel good. They may have a little bit of weight on, and they may have gotten a health scare from their doctor about high cholesterol, or they're borderline diabetic. Can you give people a few tips on eating healthy?
For sure. I think really the most important thing is to take small steps. When you get information like that, if you're not used to eating a healthier diet, it can be very overwhelming to all of a sudden have to completely change your diet. And it's not something that you're probably going to be able to stick to unless you have that real um, you can do it no matter what. So just add drinking more water. Water is so important, and adding more water to your day will actually help reduce your weight and make you feel better. Reducing the amount of sugar and processed food. So if you eat a lot of biscuits and cookies or processed foods, just taking that away. A lot of the time when you know, your body is retain a lot of salt and excess sugars and things. So as soon as you reduce that and you start drinking your water, you'll feel better just doing that. Increasing your protein, like I say, it doesn't have to be, what I always do is I make on a Sunday, I make a whole bunch of these little chicken burgers, just with ground chicken and some spices and that in them. And I make a couple of batches of those. And then I have protein in my fridge that I can add whenever I have a snack or have a sandwich with it, or just with some bit of rice and veggies. And increasing your vegetables, especially leafy greens, just doing those few things. It doesn't have to be a huge change, but just one step at a time. You'll see a huge difference in how you feel.
If someone came to you, for instance, if I came to you and I said, Jennifer, I work and I usually am out and about, and I don't remember a lot of times to make my own lunch, and everyone knows if you don't make your own lunch and bring it to work, you're going to the
Yes,
vending machine or you're going somewhere.
absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have something for those people? Uh, uh, Sandwiches or a soup that they could defrost in a microwave or something like that, so they could have that to take with them to work, something that would work in that way. Is that something that you offer?
Absolutely. So we don't do sandwiches, but we do make soups and chilies and stews. So a lot of the time we have those in little tub containers,
Yeah.
and they take 5 minutes to defrost. So you've got a nice healthy meal there. And then even our single servings, a lot of the time, I have clients come in or customers who come in and they say they get two meals just out of the single
Yeah.
serving one. So you could have some for your supper and then leftovers for your lunch, add a little salad to it. And, you've got a great little lunch there for you, right?
Perfect. So what made you decide to start a cooking school? And particularly for kids, is this just, it's not only for kids, right?
It's not just for kids. We have adults. We had a pasta class for adults last night, and we also do corporate team building as well. But I started it because I used to cooking. I'd have a lot of people come to me and say, "Do you teach cooking classes?" And summertime would be quite quiet for me with regards to my clients because barbecue season, and
Hmm.
so I'd have the summers off pretty much. And so I decided to offer kid cooking camps out of one of the local churches. And that became so popular that I started offering them on Saturdays as well, just for the kids.
Yeah.
So when I opened up my commercial kitchen, I decided that the cooking school would be a big component of it. And so we offer kids cooking classes on Saturdays. We often parent guardian classes as well, parent child, sorry. And then we offer adult classes in the evenings during the week. And we also offer our Easter cooking camps and our summer camps for kids. So they're so much fun. The majority of the time, people come in here, they want to learn, especially the kids. All the cooking shows on TV now, and the kids come in. And the thing I like about it is that they have control over what they're making. They have control over what they're eating. And that's such an important thing. A lot of the time I hear parents say, "Oh, my child won't eat this or my child won't eat that." And I know my son, when he was younger, he'd say, "Mom, what's for supper?" And I'd say chicken stir fry. And he'd say, "Oh, I don't know about that." So then I'd say, "Well, okay, how about if we have some chicken and some celery and some cucumber and some peppers and some rice?" And he'd be, "Oh, that sounds good."
Yeah.
And I'd say, "Well, buddy, that's a chicken stir
That's-
fry,
exactly. Yeah.
right?"
Yeah.
Kids need to know what is going into whatever they're eating. And so I've had so many parents say to me after they've had the classes, "My child would never have eaten that if I had made it." But when they make it, and when we're talking about it, we talk about what's going in, we explain it. And sometimes I'll give them the option. If there's something like for black beans, I'll say, "Does everyone here like black beans?" And if there's someone who really, really doesn't like
Yeah.
them, I'm not going to make them put them in.
Sure.
But if they're like, "Oh, well, they're okay." So then we'll put in like only a quarter of a cup, but it's just something for them to try. And as they make it themselves, there's so many more kids that will they're willing to try it because they've made it and they know exactly what's gone into it.
I think research certainly has proven that employees who are involved in the decision-making process own the answer. They own the solution. And when you take that the step further where you've taken it, children who are involved in the decision of what they're going to eat, and more importantly, being able to make it, obviously will be committed
Oh,
to eat
absolutely.
to eating
Yeah.
it. Right?
Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
you just take that concept and you've just taken it that much further. Why is it so important for kids to learn how to cook?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, for one, it's an essential life skill. I think every child should be taught how to cook. Um, when you grow up and you leave the nest, if you can cook, then you can look after yourself. You're not just going and getting the processed meals. You know that you can cook a good meal. And parents now are so busy, they don't have time to be, a lot of the time kids will come and say, "Hey, mom, can I help you in the kitchen?" Well, if it's 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night, the answer is always going to be no. And then
Yeah,
on the Saturday, when the parents have more time, the kids might not want to do it. And you
yeah,
can't really push it. But coming here, they learn how to use the knives. They are able to make the decisions. They build confidence. They learn about patience. You need patience when you're cooking and baking, and they learn that they have to wait sometimes. They learn responsibility because they are responsible for everything we do in the kitchen, what they're making. And they're empowered to have that knowledge that they can cook something for themselves and to be able to then go home and show their parents what they've made. They're so excited when they go to show their parents what they've made. And then to have that power of knowing that they can go and go to the kitchen, the um, fridge or the cupboard at home and make something for their family. It's a great feeling.
95%, and it could be even higher, of the people that I see uh, have low self-esteem. And for whatever reason, that's just the way it is. Their confidence level. I've had people who own businesses, lots of vehicles, huge homes, but they never felt they were successful. This is just one more example of how you can build self-esteem and self-confidence, because the way that kids get it is they see themselves doing it.
Yeah,
They can see themselves in the act of doing it. And that is so important when they see the end result and they see people around the table eating the meal that they cooked themselves. I mean, what a
absolutely.
wonderful gift to give your child.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, as well, is that when I know from my personal experience, when I'm watching my son cut something, I have to fight every fiber in my being not to go
Yeah.
because they react to you,
Oh,
right? Whereas
absolutely.
when
Totally.
anyone comes in here, it's not my child.
Yeah.
So I'm able to be a lot more relaxed and they are relaxed. And we, touch wood, have had never had any issues with them using the knives. We learn everything, and I'll say, we're going to learn it this way. I don't know how you do it at home, but we learn it all. It's all about safety. But they're dicing and they're
Yeah.
chopping and they just love it. And they're like, "We get to use the stove." And I'm like, "Absolutely." And they're like, I'm not allowed to use the stove. And I'm like, "Well, we are here because that's how you learn." And,
Yeah.
I can get sometimes the kids who come in, some are all boisterous and others are very quiet.
Yeah.
And especially at a camp at the beginning, they're all very quiet. They're not talking. And by the time Friday comes around, they are like all best buds. Like
Yeah.
Friday is so busy and noisy because they're just having an awesome time just cooking and they meet people they've never met before and they're sharing contact information because they found something that they have something in common.
Yeah.
And it is a wonderful it's a wonderful thing to see. Yeah, it
Uh,
really is.
Jennifer, we're almost out of time. Can you leave our listeners? I know we've talked about a lot of stuff. You've talked about some ideas for healthy eating. Can you leave sum everything up now and just leave our listeners with a little nugget of information, some advice that you can give them to kind of help them immediately right now?
For sure. I think it's sort of like I said earlier, if you're eating well, you're going to feel better. So you feel less anxious, you sleep better, you're able to cope with things that are going on in your life so much easier. So just start with small steps. Add that water to your diet, reduce those sugary things, throw anything out that is going to be of temptation to you. Increase your protein and your veggies, and you will feel so much better, so much better.
And I think just to add to that, I think the more we can learn to act on our feelings, the better off we'll be. If you don't feel right, then there's something not in balance in your life. And in a lot of cases, it could be the food that you're eating.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Jennifer, thank you very much. I'm nice to see you're feeling better and you're starting to come around. Those things happen that we never ask for, but we figure out how to deal with it. But again, thanks very much.
absolutely.
Thanks very much for being part of this project, and you're certainly welcome to come back at any time. And we really appreciate the time you've taken out to talk to us today.
Well, thank you, Gary. It's been a pleasure.